Hey, what's up? This is Metal and Coffee. So you're not looking at my face right now because I'm making coffee so I can have the energy to make this video. But I kind of just wanted to show you what coffee I'm drinking. So this is what I'm drinking today. And I might start doing this more often, just like showing you what I drink, because I've actually been getting interesting requests to review coffee, and I'm just like, I'm not a coffee guru, but you know what, I'm just gonna tell you it's good. For this one, my review of Lacombe's Monaco Chocolate Currant and Refined. Thumbs up, guys, thumbs up. I've got it brewing in my French press right now that I just got for Christmas. I love it, it's great. But yeah, so that is what I'm gonna be drinking today. That shit, the shit. But I'm also drinking this. That's my green smoothie. It's not, it's okay. It's something to do, you know? Try to be healthy. 2018, let's do this.
Fabian Immortal, as you search for more, it must outreach it. Brace yourself for elimination.
Okay, so hello. I am Ebony of Metal and Coffee, and this is my top 10 metal albums of 2017, so let's get into it. Alright, so number 10, sorry, my dog is just going to be here the entire time. Number 10 is Boris with Dear. So if you know metal already, you know Boris. They are a very experimental, posty, stonery Japanese metal band, and they've been in the game for an incredibly long time. It's probably like, I want to say like even 30, almost 30 years. Dear is the 24th studio release for them, and it's pretty sick. That's why it's on my, you know, on my list. And my favorite tracks are Absolute Go and The Power. So in the off chance that you haven't touched Boris and haven't heard of them, I'm not sure if Dear is the right place to start, but I think it'll get you going in the right direction for sure. So check it out if you haven't already. Okay, number 9 on my list is this album called Eraser by Anacondas. This definitely blew me away from start to finish. I've actually never heard of Anacondas before, and this album on my countdown, Gracer, is actually a part of a 2-part conceptual album. Their first album was Disgracer, and second album, Gracer. It's just solid noise hardcore, and everything sounds on point, and the riffs are very, very memorable. So if you haven't checked it out, that's your cue right there. Number 8 on my list is Minor Lord with Rust. So I've been following Minor Lord for a while, since their debut, Veneer. I believe that was their debut. Sorry in advance if I'm wrong. But I've definitely been following them for a while, and I've been on top of everything they've been releasing. They released 2 tracks prior to the full release of Rust. The first track was called Where the Death Meets the Sea. Right. And they released the title track, Rust, before releasing the full album, and they were just both solid and just completely engrossed me. I just knew I was gonna love this album. You know how you just know when they just release tracks off an album that you just been anticipating, and they just give you what you want, and you're just like, yeah, I already know this album's gonna be on my end of the year list. And rightfully so. Rust. So sick. Stoner, rock, metal, all that fun stuff. And they're from Sweden, so y'all know how I feel about my Swedish bands. Number 7 on my list is Less Art with Strangled Light. So Less Art is a bit of a supergroup, and what really drew me towards this album, and it's kind of funny, this was definitely not an authentic random discovery for me. I do this thing where I just Google releases that happened in the past month, metal releases, and their name just stood out. Oh, Less Art. I don't know how they sound like, so I'm just going to listen to it anyway. And it ended up being a match made in heaven. So they are a super group, like I mentioned before. They're made up of members of Thrice, Kowloon, Walled City, and Curl Up and Die, which are all very great bands. So it's always nice to hear a supergroup like this made up of bands that you already know and like, you know. But yeah, authentic 90s post-hardcore, that's what the first thought I had. I love post-hardcore, so let's get that out of the way. So it was just so nice to hear this major, just like post-hardcore in this day and age. And I love the vocals, like the vocals are my favorite thing. I love the kind of like the speak singing type deal, and then the growls come in right after, and just like, I don't know, it's a very strong message that album portrays as well. Just everything is really on point, and that's why it's on my list. Number 6 on my list is Hanging Garden with I Am Become. So this album by Hanging Garden, I can't even speak today. What the fuck? This album by Hanging Garden is a perfectly gorgeously constructed prog metal album. Everything is super calculated and intentionally done, which is like, I don't know, I definitely love that with my prog metal, and everything sounds really clean as well. It almost sounds like Porcupine Tree and Cult of Luna decided to like do a little thing together, just hang out and chill, but they made sure it wasn't a long chill, like, you know, 15-20 minute chills, like, you know, 5 or 6 minute type chill. They kept their songs short and like concise and got to the point, but still has that very journey effect. Like, you're still going through a complete journey, even though the songs are not as long as you would expect from those two bands. So that's what I think of Hanging Garden as. And yeah, I would recommend it. I love my prog, y'all know that. So yes, my number 5 is Blossom with Grimmon. Those could very well be sweetest words. I just like, because I don't recognize the words. But this is incredibly dark post-metal, and everything is pretty straightforward. You know, they sounded like the post-metal that I love and hold dear to my heart. And that's all I needed to hear, and the album delivered. Antlers is my favorite track off that album. It is on my countdown, so it is highly recommended. My number 4 on my top 10 metal albums of 2017 is Hell with Hell. I believe this is their self-titled album. Not their first album, but self-titled. So this album is just everything you would ever want in a sludge album. It's fucking nasty, like really nasty, ill nasty, but you know, the good kind. It's the loudest and most obnoxious sludge metal you're ever gonna hear, and the vocals are ear piercing. It reminds me of I Hate God, where a dude just like screams in the mic. He's like, oh, I can't do it, fail. So it reminds me of that, and it's like, and it's heavily infected with reverb. The vocals are heavily infected with reverb, and everything is just massive from start to finish. My favorite track from there is Inscriptus, so if you stumble across that album, you should definitely listen to that one. I play that shit on Metal and Coffee Radio all the time. So number 3 is Hark with Machinations. This is the second full-length album from this sick British heavy rock band, and what I like about them is they tend to play around with their melodies and time signatures pretty consistently while keeping a very high octane atmosphere throughout their entire listen. You know what I mean. So if you're into bands like Doom Riders, Mastodon, or Torch, you would definitely want to check this album out if you slept on it in 2017. My number 2 is Unearthly Trance with Stalking the Ghost. This Doom album is so minimalistic from every freaking aspect. I play the shit out of this album. No shame. There shouldn't be shame, so I don't know why I said that. I listen to the track Famine all the time, and it just kind of, this album reminds me that sometimes less is more. You don't need all that production. Just let the griminess and the rawness. So that a word? Let the rawness resonate through your music. Let the authenticity resonate through your music, and it will have a strong effect. So if you're looking for a super organic, listening, sludgy, doomy experience, then definitely check out Unearthly Trance's latest release. And my number one album, we've reached the number one, is Pain of Salvation with In the Passing Light of Day. So this was kind of obvious. I feel like I've tweeted about Pain of Salvation and how much I like their album on a pretty consistent basis. And if you aren't familiar with Pain of Salvation, they are just a prog rock act that they have their heavy moments, but you know, they're definitely the least metal album on my top 10 list. But I feel like there's a lot of bands that walk that line, so I'm not even worried about it. So this album is my number one album because of how well it flowed from start to finish. It's like almost like a pop prog, but it kept with a lot of the authentic aspects of, you know, prog metal and prog rock. It's just a wholesome experience. You might hear riffs that you've heard in previous songs on the album appear in later songs, which I love. Kind of like an interlude, I guess. And the production was really well done. I'm a sucker for Daniel Livendow. He's the vocalist and the guitarist and a songwriter. I guess he's the main one. I think, right? But I really like his vocals. I love his lyrics a lot, and he's just a very, very amazing singer. Very, very emotional. You can hear everything through his voice, which is very talent that not everyone has. But yeah, I swear I had a new favorite song, at least monthly. So the first one, when I first heard this album, my favorite song was Reasons, because that was one of their singles, and then the next month was Taming the Beast, and then next month after that was Full Throttle Tribe or something like that. Next month after that was On a Tuesday, which I still get down on a Tuesday. And then the next month after that was Tongue of God. So I don't know, that says a lot when you're able to keep going back to an album throughout the year. That album you heard months ago, you keep coming back. So I knew this was something that was going to be on my list. But it was the only album that did that for me this year. The other albums on the list definitely were close, but that was the one album I kept coming back to. So that is my number one, Pain of Salvation in the Light of Passing Day. So yeah, that is my list. I hope you enjoyed. I'm gonna try to do more stuff. I'm gonna try to do reviews of albums throughout the year. It's not gonna be super frequent because I do have a radio show and I put a lot of my time in that. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I kind of want to get into reviewing. I mean, I don't like reviewing stuff just to review. I like to review things that are good. Because if they're good, then I'll think about them more analytically, and it won't be I don't know. If I'm gonna review an album, if I'm gonna get back into my album reviews on YouTube, then they're all gonna be albums that I like, so I can really get into them and analyze them. I don't like rating albums because there's no joy in saying a band sucks, you know? So yeah, I think I might do that. I might do that. Alright, so I will see you next time.